Hey everyone, I'm Jordy, and this is your guide to the fourth encounter in Trial of the Grand Crusader, the Twin Val'Kyr, Adis Darkbane, and Fiola Lightbane.
In the name of our Dark Master, for the Lich King, you will die.
Now, the Twin Val'Kyr are a fight that can be difficult to wrap your head around, but ultimately, you just need to know a couple of things to secure the victory and be on to the final boss of Phase 3. As far as raid composition goes, to start, I'd go with 2 tanks and 4 to 5 healers. Averting a wipe is your utmost goal, because loot is on the line, so we do everything we can to be safe here. Alright, so Twin Valks is a one-phase fight, with some interesting raid positioning and roles for a few of your raiders, whereas most will just stack in one spot and blast. Each twin represents an element. Adis Darkbane represents the darkness and uses shadow spells, whereas Fiola Lightbane represents the light and uses fire spells. Each of their abilities are identical except for the school of magic that each uses, and your goal is to abuse those elemental affinities and deal bonus damage and avoid the damage that they deal by attuning yourself to match the spells they cast. Now, how do we do that? As the Valks spawn, you'll notice 4 colored vortexes around the room. Before they even pull, you can right-click on these vortexes and pick one of 2 colors, Dark Essence and Light Essence. These debuffs attune you with a certain element, either light, fire, or dark shadow. Now, depending on certain criteria during the fight, you'll want to be one essence or the other. This increases your damage to one or the other twin while also nullifying the damage done to you from the other. Additionally, the more damage you absorb from the same colored magic, the more stacks of powering up that you will get. And if you reach 100 stacks, you'll get Empowered Light or Darkness, increasing your damage by 100% to the corresponding twin and instantly restoring 20% of your mana. We'll get more into that in a second, but first let's go over what the twins themselves do. First, like I said earlier, they each cast the same exact abilities. The only difference is what type of damage each deals when they do them. So we'll go over each in pairs. First, Touch of Light and Touch of Darkness. These are just simple dots that they'll throw on the raid. If you get the Touch of Light on you but are already colored with light, you'll just absorb it all and get some stacks of powering up. This isn't too worrisome otherwise, just heal through it. Next, they'll each cast Twin Spike on their current target. This does 125% weapon damage and debuffs their target, increasing damage taken by 20% for 15 seconds or 5 charges. This also isn't too much of a problem, the twins don't hit too hard themselves. Additionally, every 2 seconds, the twins cast Light Surge or Dark Surge, depending on their color. This is just a simple AoE damage pulse that you'll need to heal through the entire fight. Note that you only ever take damage from one of these, as you'll be immune to the other's damage. Alright, that's it for the twins' normal abilities. Now we'll get into each of their special abilities. Note that there are only 2 different versions of these abilities, but each twin must cast both before they repeat, so you can glean what the next move is after a couple go up by process of elimination. First, Twins Pact. One of the twins will throw up a big absorbing shield that absorbs 1.2 million damage and then starts casting Twins Pact for 8 seconds. You'll need to burn through the shield in that 8 seconds and then interrupt the heal, or you'll see them heal for 50% of their HP and dramatically slow your kill, possibly enough to cause a wipe. Now, while one is casting that, the other will be buffed with Power of the Twins, increasing its damage done by a bunch. Just make sure you watch your tank during this, it hurts. Okay, so that's Twins Pact. Next is Dark and Light Vortex. This is a 5-second cast that does about 16k damage per second to anyone not of the same essence as the twin casting it. It's super deadly unless you're quick and pick the right essence to absorb it all, while also juicing your stacks of powering up. Alright, that's all the twins themselves do. The last mechanic are these little balls bouncing around the room. These will run into your raid and deal damage to those of the opposite color and buff your raid with powering up to those of the same color in a small radius. We'll get into the best way to handle these shortly, but the goal is to splash the entire raid with certain colors while placing people of the opposite color around the raid to body block the opposite color and prevent the damage from hitting them. Okay, I understand that was a lot. You're probably stressed out about which color you need to be when and to most effectively abuse each of these mechanics, but you really don't even need to worry about any of that. I'll explain the bare minimum of what you need to know for this in the walkthrough starting right now. Okay, so we'll talk to the NPC here and spawn the twins. The vortexes appear in the room, and you're going to have everyone in the raid except your dark twin tank and 3 designated soakers choose the dark essence. Your entire raid will be DPSing Fiola Lightbane for the foreseeable future, as she'll take extra damage as the light twin from you as dark essence users. Now for the soakers. We elect to use hunters, disc priests, and shadow priests for this job. The reason is that should the twins use Dark Vortex, these people can use deterrence, paints up, and dispersion to dramatically lower the damage they take while maintaining their essence. An important job to prevent the opposite colored balls from reaching the raid. So these soakers will choose Light Essence. And for your Lightbane tank, you need to be able to build threat on this mob, so you must choose the opposite color as well, the Light Essence, in order to deal full damage. You're also going to be body blocking orbs in your little area from getting to the raid, so keep an eye out. Okay, so on pull, we drag both twins over to the light vortex on the right, close to where Fiola Lightbane is. You won't, however, click on that vortex, just stand near it and be ready to click it should it be called for. Feel free to cleave like crazy. You'll do less damage to the color that you've got, but we'll still do some, and since they share a health pool, it's all gravy. Now your soakers will do their absolute best to triangulate around the raid and each take a quarter. You must not let the light orbs reach the stack. But if you see a dark orb coming, avoid it and let it go through. You want it to hit the stack and splash everyone there, so do your best to avoid them while doing your jobs. Alright, we continue this way until 45 seconds into the fight, the twins will begin their first special ability, either Vortex or Twins Pact. In this instance, it's going to be Dark Vortex. This means that the people already with the Dark Essence, most of your raid, will just absorb all of this damage, while the Soakers, your Hunters and Shadow Priests, will need to use their strong defensive abilities to survive it. This shouldn't be too bad. Healers just watch them and make sure everything goes smooth. Once it's finished, the fight should continue smoothly for another 45 seconds until the second special ability. Now, since Dark Vortex has already been cast, we can eliminate it from the pool of possible abilities, leaving both Twins Pact and Light Vortex as possible casts. Alright, next, we'll just assume Light Vortex is up. She begins casting Light Vortex for 6 seconds, and then we'll start channeling it for 5 seconds. During the cast, everyone that is using Dark Essence, except your Lightbane tank, will swap to Light Essence, the thing that they're already standing on. Make sure you do it before the channeling begins, but as you're standing on top of it, it should be super easy to do. Once the damage completes and the raid looks healthy, we have the raid move to one of the dark vortexes on either side and swap back before moving back into a pixel stack where they were just a second ago. This is a de facto reset on the fight, and everything should be as it was at the start of the encounter color-wise. Be careful as the raid is moving positions. People might accidentally pop orbs as they move, so a strong D-Him, D-Sac, AM are all helpful cooldowns here. Alright, now since both vortexes have gone out, we only have 2 possible abilities to choose from, both being Twins Pact, either Light or Shadow. In this next instance, we get Lightbane's Twins Pact, and the entire raid is already using the Dark Essence, so you'll do a quick 1.2 million HP during this 8-second cast, and make sure to interrupt it before continuing DPS. No big deal here, this should be super easy. Continuing on, we've seen 3 of the 4 abilities, so now we know that the final special ability will be Darkbane's Twins Pact. I'd recommend in this instance that you pop Bloodlust and blast through the shield here. You might even have some people swap to the Light Essence that they're standing on if your DPS is a bit lower, so they can full burn on her to break through the shield. If you don't, a majority of your raid will be doing lower DPS and you might not break it in time. In our case, we don't bother, but your raid's DPS may vary. Either way, if you do swap colors here for the burn, you need to swap back to Dark Essence after the burn is over so as to be the same color as your raid and ensure the orbs don't hurt super bad. Be careful here, the stack must all be the same color after this is over, or you'll find that people begin dying to the orbs that soak on the raid. Okay, now once you've seen all 4 abilities, it's now possible to see any of the 4 next. Ideally, you've done enough damage to finish the fight by this point, but if not, no worries, just keep going and you'll be done in no time. Bop them up and pick up your loot. Alright, let's talk about some tank tips. This fight is actually pretty easy for you. Just pick up your mob and stand there. Threat hard as the raid does a bunch of damage with these essence buffs, and avoid popping any orbs that the raid is looking to snag. If you're the Dark Bane tank and you have light essence, do your best to body block those auras from hitting the raid while not moving the mob. It can be hard, but just move around them in a circular fashion without having them themselves move too much. While they're doing the opposite vortex as you've got, maybe pop a cooldown to help out the healers. That thing can truck pretty good. For healers, this fight can get super spiky depending on your soaker's ability to soak these orbs, so be ready with a clutch Holy Shocker powered shield to save someone from dying. The persistent ticking surge damage may just cause someone to tick out if they get a big hit from an orb that they weren't expecting. And if you're assigned to soak, consider using any opposite colored resistances to avoid some of that unforeseen damage. Shadow resist in this case, to smooth out some of that burst you might see. Also, and this is a bit more of an advanced tip, don't use Shadow Resist aura or buff the Ray with Shadow on this one. Each stack of powered up is dependent on the amount of damage actually absorbed, and resists happen before that is calculated, so if the raid resists some of the damage that they would have absorbed, they'll be stacking up those juicy powering up buffs slower. And for the DPS, odds are you'll only get 1 empowered light or darkness on this fight towards the end, so plan your cooldowns accordingly. We like to pop stuff early here and then again when the buff hits. 100% is quite a lot, so plan ahead. And for the DKs, if you're gonna die, use AMS, but know that it will reduce the amount of stacks of powering up that you get. But if you've already hit 100, feel free to use any and all defensive that you've got. You likely won't be getting a second one, so help your healers out and reduce that damage taken. Alright, well that's it for Twin Valks. I hope this helped clear up what to do when. It's actually a pretty easy fight once you wrap your head around the colors, and definitely one of the most fun. If you enjoyed this guide, do me a huge favor and like and subscribe to the channel. I've got a bunch more stuff coming for TOGC, from weak aura guides, raid assignment sheets, loot prio guides, and more coming for this phase, so make sure you're subscribed. We'll keep you in the know. And a huge shout out to everyone who supported me on Patreon. Thank you so much, guys. It means a lot. All right, that's it for me. See you in the next one.
Boot switch color. Bring it on back. Him.
Yep.
Don't let anything get into the raid right now.
Swimming.
All right, everything's reset. Should be good.